what we'll start to see is that range of motion gets better, and when the range of motion is down to a full squat position, then we start to add weight. And then we go in and we add these other methods of progressive overload that we've already talked about in this video. So like I said, probably one of the least common talked about, one of the least commonly used, but as a personal trainer, probably the most important place, because without this foundational step, all the other progressive overload methods don't really get to put into play for full effect. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video. Welcome back to the channel. I am Ramon from Body by Ramon. Want to give a shout out to today's sponsor, Celsius.
What?
Not actually a sponsor, but love Celsius. Enjoying some today. Guys, today we're going to take a peek at progressive overload. So if you spend much time at all on social media, whether it be Instagram, here on YouTube, on TikTok, you have probably heard people in the fitness industry talk about progressive overload. So what we're gonna do today is attempt to take a little bit of a dive into progressive overload. I'm gonna kind of explain to you guys what it is, how you can implement it into some of your training, and its benefits of allowing you to continue to get stronger and to add some muscle over time. So let's dive into it, guys. So progressive overload. Simply put, it's a method of training that is going to allow you to continue to develop muscle and to continue to develop strength. The reason that this works and the reason people use it is what will start to happen when you are training is your bodies, and specifically like your skeletal muscle systems, will start to adapt over time to the changes that you make, unless you don't make changes, in which case your body will adapt and then you'll start to plateau out. And unless you make some kind of change somewhere, you're going to notice that your strength gains will kind of start to stall out. You won't really continue to get much more size in terms of muscle growth. And so that's where the importance of progressive overload comes into play. First thing we're going to take a look at, the most common method that you'll see people doing is just increasing the resistance. So a lot of times you'll hear people talk about performing an exercise and doing 3 sets of 8 to 10. So what they'll do is, for example, let's say we're doing a chest press. You would set up 135, we'll just say, so the bar and a couple 45s on each side, and you'll do your first set doing 8 reps. And then the next set, you're gonna go up and maybe you'll do 140 for 8 reps. And then you're gonna go up again, you'll do 145 for 8 reps. So you're just gradually increasing the resistance that it is that you're moving, right? And so when you would come back the next week, then you would even progress there. So the next week, your first set, instead of being at 135, you would start at 140, and then gradually increase your weight that you're moving with each set starting from there. And you would just continue to do that until you got to a point where, let's say on my last set, I'm supposed to do 185 for a set of 8, and I get to 185 and I'm only able to do, let's say 6. The next week when I come in, I'm gonna do the same exact 3 weights that I just performed this week until I can make sure I do all 3 of those sets for 8 reps, or whatever the rep is that I'm going for, whether it's 8 or 10. And that's the most common one. That's the one you're gonna hear about more frequently. These other ones are also ways that you can implement progressive overload into your training that don't really get talked about a lot, at least not in my experience from what I see on social media. And so I wanted to introduce those to you guys because they're just as important. So the next thing that we'll look at is going to be increasing the number of reps that you complete. The difference here being we don't change the weight. So we're going to be looking at, let's say we do chest press again, 3 sets of 8 at 135 for chest press, okay? We did 3 sets this week, 8 reps, kept the weight at 135. We completed all of those. Next week when I come in, time to progressive overload, we are gonna go up in reps. So we go 135 again, keep the weight consistent, still doing 3 sets, but now we're gonna do 10 reps. And if we can get through all 3 this week and we can do all 10 reps this week, the next week we come back in, we do 135, 3 sets, and now we do 12 reps. So then we take kind of a combination of the 2 of them, which gives us this third way, which is just increasing your overall volume, right? So in this method, you're kind of playing more with the number of reps and the number of sets. So again, kind of leaving the weight consistent, but now we're changing 2 factors, okay? So as an example for chest press, let's say week 1, I come in, I do 135, I do 3 sets, get 8 reps in for all of those. Awesome. Next week I come back, I'm gonna throw 135 back on the bar again, but this week I'm gonna do 3 sets and I'm gonna do 10 reps. At this point, it sounds very similar to what we just did, right? We're only increasing the reps. Here's where the difference changes in your programming. Week 3, when I come in, now it's time to up the game a little bit more. We go 135, still the same weight, but now we're gonna do 4 sets and we're gonna do 10 reps. All right, so over 3 weeks, we've gradually increased the number of reps that we're doing. Into that 3rd week, now we've increased the number of sets that we're doing with increased number of reps. So our overall volume for training and that particular movement has increased week to week. All right, now another method we'll look at, which is probably not recognized as progressive overload, but it's very common when people do push, pull, and leg splits. You repeat push, pull, legs twice a week, you end up lifting 6 times a week. That form of training is progressive overload in terms of your training split, but there's other ways to do that. If you only work out 5 days a week, you can still do progressive overload by changing your training split. And what you would be doing is just increasing the frequency that you hit a certain body part or you hit certain lifts, okay? So this is really good if you have like struggling to grow in a particular area. Let's say that my chest is just not developing the way I want my chest to develop. What I'm gonna do throughout the week is I'm gonna place more emphasis on my training for my chest that week in comparison to everything else. So if I decide I'm gonna hit chest twice in a week, I'm not gonna hit arms twice and back twice, because then everything is growing at the same pace. I wanna place more emphasis on my chest to allow it to catch up with the other body parts that are developing quicker. And so in doing that, I'm increasing my frequency, which is increasing the number of reps that I do on my chest in a given week. And that's a really important method as well, especially for people who have been lifting weights for a little while, because as you start to get stronger, you're gonna start to get some imbalances depending on how your training style is. And with those imbalances is gonna come weaknesses from side to side or from front to back. And then that's when you're gonna start to notice muscles not developing quite as quickly as they are in other places. And in order to balance those out, if you're truly looking to get nice hypertrophy results, you're gonna wanna balance that out. And that's one great way that you can do that. All right, so the last method that we're gonna look at, probably the least commonly associated method of doing progressive training, but as a personal trainer myself, this is one that I found to be very important. And as I start to dive into this method, you'll probably understand why I say it's one of the more important methods for me as a personal trainer, because what this is called progressive distance training. So when I have a brand new client or someone who used to work out but hasn't worked out for a while, this is a great thing to use for them, and we use distance as a measurement versus just weight. So what we would do is, let's say with a body weight squat, okay? Instead of just putting some weight on somebody and the next week increasing weight, increasing reps, increasing volume, what we're gonna do with somebody who's brand new is I'm gonna have them start just squatting their body weight. But I'm gonna put them on a box, okay? So you take like a typical step-up box, or your box that you use for box jumps, and let's say we start at 18 inches high. 1 week we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna let them do 3 reps, or 3 sets, 10 reps. And next week when they come back in, if everything went great in that first session, they were able to complete their total number of reps and sets, we're gonna make that box a little shorter. All right, so we might take it down to 15 inches. And we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do 3 sets, we're gonna do 10 reps. Complete all of those, and next week we're gonna take it down again, maybe to 12 inches. And what we will do is continue to increase their range of motion, okay? So we're increasing how far their range is. We're increasing that over time, gradually, progressively overloading. And what we'll start to see is that range of motion gets better. And when their range of motion is down to a full squat position, then we start to add weight. And then we go in and we add these other methods of progressive overload that we've already talked about in this video. So like I said, probably one of the least common talked about, one of the least commonly used, but as a personal trainer, probably the most important place, because without this foundational step, all the other progressive overload methods don't really get to put into play for full effect. So I say that's the last method that we're gonna talk about for progressive overload, because for this video, it is. However, there are more ways to perform progressive overload, such as like decreasing your rest times, or the speed at which you move a weight, right? So the intensity of that movement. Performing a given amount of work in a shorter amount of time. Another thing that I would do is actually do more work in the same amount of time. So we use time as a way to do progressive overload. And those are things that I'll go more in depth on in an upcoming video, because I'm gonna be releasing a video soon where I give you guys tips on how to do progressive overload at home with a little bit of equipment or no equipment at all, just doing progressive overload with body weight. And that, like I said, that's gonna be a future video, so be on the lookout for that. And as far as today's video goes, guys, that's gonna do it. So that's progressive overload in a nutshell. Some very standard methods on how to do that, how to implement it for your training. Guys, make sure you turn on your post notifications. Hit that little red subscribe button there underneath the video. Make sure you don't miss the next one. Like I said, going further in depth on progressive training and how you guys can do it at home, how you can do it at the gym with just minimal equipment so you're not wandering all over the gym. And for those of you that are not back in gyms yet, doing it with just body weight. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Just trying to provide you guys with a lot of information that you can use on your daily lives at home. Get into the gym, use some of these methods, start making some gains, start burning some fat, whatever it is that your goal is right now. I'm really just trying to help everyone who's watching the videos. Guys, I appreciate the support, appreciate the love. Make sure to leave a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Hit me up on Instagram. The link is down below as well. And I will see you guys at the next video. Peace.